Hey, what's up, Monero
What's
fam?
up, Panama fam?
How's everybody doing? We've got another round up for you this week with Matt and Chill at the Opie. Um, Starting us out is a great tweet by someone I love and respect and know personally. I am talking about Crypto Tweety, who is on this call with me. You let me share my screen here so everybody knows what I'm talking about.
This is
Um,
awkward. um,
but yeah, basically you said, I'm probably alone with this, but long term, I don't see public ledgers surviving in a financial capacity at all, not commerce compatible, and that's the main use case. Swaps are more like an emergency exit for Bitcoiners. So that's a pretty hot take. I'm sure there's some people who are don't agree with that, but can you
Maybe you
explain a
throw
little bit what?
tomatoes and eggs at me.
Well, it'll be digital, so maybe it's not as bad, but um, or it could be worse. Who knows? But yeah, can you explain like why? I mean, it had to do with trade ogre, it looks like, but what like why is financial why are public ledgers not commerce compatible? Maybe that's where we should start.
Yeah, so I mean, businesses rely on financial privacy and on the expectation of financial privacy. If you could see every competitor's transactions at all times, and nefarious actors could see it as well, they could front run, they can exploit, they can predict. The whole financial system would just collapse. It wouldn't work. Privacy uh, is a must when it comes to commerce. And
Mhm.
if you're look around the industry right now, we have several issues with public ledgers. With Bitcoin, we have the ASIC miners, of course, which it's already monopolized the market. The
And now you
core
can't
devs,
buy them.
yeah, you can't buy them. Alibaba is not selling them anymore. China pretty much um, sent all the miners away.
Right,
So
right.
they don't have RandomX like Monero. So there's a mining centralization. There's an issue there. There's government control in terms of like regulations on the mining side of things. Then we have what Justin mentions there, the problem of fungibility with the atomic swaps. Then if you scroll down, you see that Bitcoin address coming from TradeOgre. TradeOgre is a non-KYC exchange. It has been um, blocked. There are several, address censorship, coin join censorships. Pretty soon they're gonna start not accepting unhosted wallet Bitcoin. So I mean, it's creating a regulatory and logistical maze for transactions where you have to keep track of
Right.
like what is coming from here and it's going from there and can
Right.
I
You
use it? So,
you basically have to have like you basically have to know where all of your Bitcoin came from, and you have to separate it based on where it came from. Like, okay, this Bitcoin came from Coinbase, that's okay. I'll put that in my like everyday use wallet. Okay, this Bitcoin came through like an atomic swap or came through a coin join or something or from Trade Ogre. Okay, I can't really use that. So this Bitcoin's actually probably worth less than like this other Bitcoin I have. And to me, that's not fungible at all. I don't think anyone would say that that's fungible. So it's like, what are we doing here? And you're taking that one step further and saying, well, for commerce, like that's not going to work at all. Like we're seeing these issues with just private users when it scales and you have companies that are, moving Bitcoin and things all around, then this problem kind of magnifies itself even more. So I definitely see the point that you're driving at here, and I mean that's why we're into Monero, right? It's truly fungible cryptocurrency. That's really the only digital cash or internet currency that works in my mind the way it's supposed to. So yeah, I'm sure there'll be some Bitcoin maxis who get the tomatoes out, but I mean they can come on and debate it. Like I don't know how you're going to prove that Bitcoin is fungible, because even jumping through all of these hoops and doing atomic swaps, your Bitcoin is still not welcome on the fiat off ramps and really, really limits your ability to use it. So tough, I
Yeah, and
guess.
I'm not saying if your use case is, let's say, electoral votes or something that you want to be public, then great, use the Bitcoin blockchain. But for commerce, specifically for financial capacity, I I think every public ledger is basically useless.
Damn. All right. Well, you heard it here first. I mean, I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you. I just I don't have the balls to tweet about it. Even though I agree.
I don't have balls either.
The gumption. I don't have the gumption. We'll leave it there. All right. So next up, we've got the Pandora Papers, which were kind of like the Panama Papers, right? You were the one that was telling me about this. What's
Just
going
bigger
on?
and better.
Got it. Got it. What's going on with those? You want me to share the
Oh
article here?
God. Yes, please.
So what do we got here? A nice little pop
All
up.
the skeletons from the closet.
The largest investigation in journalism history exposes a shadow financial system that benefits the world's most rich and powerful. So, offshore havens and hidden riches of world leaders and billionaires exposed in an unprecedented leak. Pandora Papers reveal the inner workings of a shadow economy that benefits the wealthy and well connected at the expense of everyone else. Can't say I'm shocked that this exists or that this is real. I think we kind of all knew that that was the case, but maybe we'll get some accountability out of this. I'm not holding my breath though, because this is like presidents of countries.
Yeah, we have the shadowy super coders, and now we have the shadowy legacy money hiders.
The shadow economy. Yeah, the shadowy super coders and the shadow economy. So like, I don't think they're on the same team. So there's a lot of shadowy people, a lot of shadow factions, I guess.
White shadow.
Yeah, yeah. But I think one of the interesting, I did a little reading on this. There was I think it was I want to say Nigeria, but it may have not been. Maybe it was in South America, but there was a country that was receiving aid, and like there's a direct like they've got the receipts basically for like as this country was receiving aid money, the president of the country was like buying real estate and like funneling portions of those funds like immediately abroad. Like it was just coming in, hitting the accounts, and then like it was going out to his personal into his like personal wealth management
Wow.
whatever. And I forget the country. I have to post it down below, but I was just like, wow, that's, I mean, again, it's like I'm not shocked to hear that happens, but this is like kind of proving it. And again, I hope there's some accountability. Even a little bit would be great. But again, I'm not holding my breath, so we'll have to see how that shakes out. But I don't know. What do you have any?
Yeah, the moral of the story here is that all these people could have used Monero securely on the BitFi instead of trusting the infosec of these law firms. And
right, there wouldn't be a leak if they had just like used Monero with like Tor and like run their own node.
So we are welcoming all these billionaires to our Monero community.
Right. Come on in. So all right, so that's the Pandora Papers. Obviously you could come here, check it out, give it a read if that's your thing. It was pretty interesting. I just kind of browsed through it a little bit to see like who got exposed pretty much, that was kind of entertaining. But moving on here, our next item is Compound, the DeFi protocol on Ethereum, and some of their issues. Because I think last week or a few days ago, there was a glitch with the contract, got upgraded or something like that, and like $90 million worth of funds were sent out to users of the Compound protocol. And yeah, that just went out the window. And because it's a blockchain, it's running on Ethereum, there's no way to claw that back. There's no chargebacks with crypto. So The CEO had to basically ask for everyone to give the $90 million back, and it kind of just devolved
Please.
into, yeah, it just sort of devolved into a shit show. Let me
The compound
share.
problems keep compounding.
The compound problems continue to compound. Yeah, this definitely compounded it, what he did here. So basically, he made that offer. They lost $90 million, went out because of some glitch. And then, they said, hey, you can keep 10% of it, send us the rest back. That would be great. And then I guess apparently not enough people did that. And so to really incentivize people to send the funds back, the CEO or the founder of Compound was like, okay, if you don't send it back, we're going to dox you to the IRS, to make sure that, you have to pay these funds or pay taxes on these funds, which I think was an awful, awful move. Like, we're using a decentralized finance protocol. I would like to believe that, like, they're not collecting my information, and storing it on me, but apparently that is not the case because they have enough data on whoever's using Compound and its smart contract to send the IRS your real name, and information so that you can pay taxes because you didn't give your money back. So, yeah, I don't know. That's pretty shitty. And obviously there was a lot of blowback for that, towards him, which rightly so. I would hope so. But yeah, as Chill said, the problem keeps compounding itself because you got the Robert out here running around making wild claims.
Yeah, and I would like to mention the point that Grant made. If you can pull up his tweet, assume that the compound bug, instead of distributing too many rewards to users, actually drained user funds instead. What remedies, if any, would the users have against compound, and how would users go about enforcing those remedies? Would they have any cognizable legal claims against compound labs? If not, would they have any cognizable legal claims against the compound DAO? And how would they enforce their claims against the compound DAO? And these are really
Interesting.
good questions.
Yeah, yeah, and I think, I mean, my take on that is that we don't have any precedent really. Like, there's been no court cases that involve smart contracts and DeFi protocols and DAOs and anonymous users and all of that. Like, at least to my knowledge, so there's not really precedent to go on, like, in the court system. And so it really just takes somebody trying to sue Compound or Compound trying to sue somebody, or, similar. You kind of have to have that, like, initial court case, and then, the precedent gets established, and then people can interpret it one way or the other. Judges can interpret it one way or the other moving forward, and that's kind of how you establish, like, the framework and the rules for, how this stuff is governed. But right now, I mean, I don't think there is an answer to that question. Or what, I guess, why did you find that so interesting? Grant's tweet, Chill. You have more law experience than I do by far.
Because I've been thinking about this a lot, and I believe that whilst money should be private and decentralized and censorship resistant, something like Monero, I think financial services require some kind of arbitrage system where you can
Arbitrator. You mean like an arbitrator, not arbitrage, but like someone who's arbitrating disputes.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, someone who's arbitrating disputes, someone who has remedies, especially when you're talking about lending and mortgage and all kinds of financial services that will emerge in the near future. Because if you think about it, right now, the way DeFi is functioning in our ecosystem is very similar to how DNM markets function, right? Like every 3 months, there's an exit scam, or website just
Right.
goes offline, and that's okay in a friction. I mean, in the on the DNM markets, right? Because the users do not have a way to go complain to SEC or
Right.
so that's acceptable in those circumstances, but in a large scale, it would not be a sustainable financial model.
Gotcha.
And
So
I
I mean,
think that
kind of how BISC does it, like I mean, they're basically a decentralized software app, and they facilitate trades of cryptocurrency and I think fiat also, or maybe just Monero and Bitcoin or some other pairings too. But Monero Bitcoin's like their big one. But if you have an issue or your trade doesn't, you're having an issue with something that's going on there, you can just hop on their Discord or their Telegram, and they have like an arbitrator who uh figures out who the issue is, can resolve disputes and settle things, and then that way, when there's a problem, you don't have to rely on the code having a perfect answer for everything. You can actually go to a human being and say like, hey, help me with this, and they can provide a level of service that's superior to just something that's totally automated. So I get that. That makes sense to me. I can't help but think that's like inserting a middleman into the process a little bit. Like true decentralized finance, it's efficient because it's automated, and that's where a lot of the gains, and ability to serve larger numbers of people comes from. But the cost is the user experience, or the customer experience is kind of degraded, because when things go poorly, it's just like, darn, all my funds are gone. The rug got pulled. The contract had a bug, and like, well, sucks to be me. Like, I guess my retirement's gone. So, I mean, it makes sense. I think
You have to have balance there, because and
yeah.
also
There's a middle ground for sure.
it's important to have a private or confidential DeFi and exchanges. That's why I'm so excited about Haveno Dex, which is building nicely. It's
Yeah.
baking.
Yep. Coming along. I know Beam is doing some cool things in confidential DeFi as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, definitely keeping an eye on both of those projects, and obviously the atomic swaps as well. But gotcha. Okay. All right. Next up is a question that I saw on the Monero Stack Exchange that I thought was kind of cool. It's just one that I get a lot when I'm trying to tell people about Monero and like privacy and kind of how everything works. So I thought it might be worthwhile to just bring up here and share with everybody else. So let's do that. Basically, I'm sorry, I was browsing Monero.how. So if you want to know what's going on in Monero, go to Monero.how. It's a great website. But yeah, basically, can private coin wallets be IP tracked is the question from this user. They're saying, you've got a private coin sent to your wallet, which is an address on the blockchain. Is there any way that your computer can be tracked? I suppose it stands or falls with the nodes, and a VPN could hide it, but the VPN could be compromised. Tor is also a good idea in principle, but I hear lots of stories about nodes being compromised. So, basically, is it even possible to do a crypto transfer completely anonymously, taking all the technical and political factors into account? The short answer is yes. Most of the time, yes. But the longer answer here from this user, JT Grassi, kind of explains like how it all works on Monero. And so basically, when you're sending a transaction, your wallet has bundled up a bunch of information, and they need to broadcast that out to the Monero network. And then the Monero miners will take that information, make sure all the rules are being followed, and then mine that into a block so that the Monero can move from one address to the other address. When you broadcast that data out, you're broadcasting it to a Monero node, and then that node broadcasts it out to all the rest of the nodes. And it uses something called Dandelion++ to try and prevent other people on the network from seeing which node exactly that originating broadcast came from. And so it kind of bounces it around before it like totally propagates it to everyone. So that hides which node you used basically on the network. But that node that you originally sent it to, if it's not yours, if it's like someone else's, they could potentially see what IP address sent that initial request to broadcast it out to the network. So the network at large isn't going to see it, but that originating node would see it. So that's why people are always saying, hey, run your own Monero node. It's a way more private. But if you're not going to do that, using Tor, I2P, or a VPN that you trust, and that can be kind of a tricky thing, is going to be ideal there, because then that originating node that you sent it to, if it's someone else's node, isn't going to see which IP address that transaction, that broadcast came from. So, basically the long story short here is if you use a public remote node, they're going to know the originating broadcast node, and could possibly tie that information to your IP address. Hence, you really should use Tor I2P if you're using a public remote node, to give yourself very good privacy when transacting in Monero. So yeah, just a little refresher there on Monero privacy. If
I mean, I would add that depending on your threat model, if you're really paranoid, you could use Unix and then also run your own node and then send it through Tor. And that would be like the maximum threat model. But if you're just buying something online and it's not really anything illegal or anything, I don't think you need that level of
right. And there are, yeah. I would say this about Monero is it's not very hard to get a pretty good level of privacy with Monero just by using like Tor or VPN to broadcast your transactions. But if you have an additionally like strict threat model, I guess, so you're really worried about your privacy, there are additional steps that you can take past that will also like really, take you from 97% to 99.9%, which for some people is completely worth it. For most of us, just doing this kind of basic things are good enough. But it's always good to know what's out there, and there's plenty of documentation all over the different Monero websites on how to privately use Monero. But this is a good one, especially for newer people. So I thought it was worth mentioning here.
Yeah.
But
especially if you're in a country where there's there's authoritarian government, then you have to have like a more serious threat model. But for those of us in the Western countries, kind of Monero is just it's good enough privacy to prevent like mass surveillance, because that's what it's for.
For sure. Cool. All right, so the next one here was a tweet from Justin Ehrenhofer. Let me pull that one up. I think it's about the time locks, which I'm not super up to speed on, but I think it's worth mentioning here for those of you who do know about those or have something to say about them. But basically, there's a proposal to remove the time locks for Monero. It's gaining traction for a variety of reasons. If you don't agree with that, or you do agree with that, please speak now, or forever hold your silence, because they're going to be gone. But I think from the very basic research I did, and I'm not a proficient developer at all, basically the time locks aren't doing a whole lot. They're kind of like deprecated and left over from some earlier things that they were used for. However, in the future, there's a chance that they could be useful again, but right now they're not really that useful, and it might be easier to get rid of them. But if we do get rid of them, then it could be harder in the future if there is a need for them. So I think that's mainly the debate. The specifics of it, you'll have to ask Justin or go read this GitHub, the Monero project research lab GitHub posting, and that's how you can do it.
Cool.
I didn't miss anything there. Chill, we're good.
We're good.
All right. Last but not least, we've got kind of least. I hate Facebook, but so yesterday, Facebook went down for 6 hours, which is the longest it's been down since 2008. So over a decade, pretty much, almost 15 years. It hasn't gone down like this. And I think something happened with the DNS records where, like, when you went to facebook.com, it was not resolving correctly. And so it just like took down everything. And I mean, the reason I'm mentioning it isn't because I particularly, am hating on Facebook or supporting Facebook. I just thought it was interesting that a whistleblower the day before had come out and basically said, like Facebook's internal correspondence has shown that, they've identified it's bad for business if we don't try to addict people to the platform and don't try to like target teens and tweens and younger children to be addicted and always using our platform. Our bottom line takes a hit in that scenario. And I think also some stuff about moderation, keeping angry posters and things that really generate a lot of activity through kind of like negative emotions like anger and fear and things like that. Those generate a ton of engagement, which is better for the bottom line. And so Facebook is kind of optimizing for those types of posts, even though it's like creating social discord and social I don't know, social unrest. But that's basically what the whistleblower was saying. And Facebook has all these things and they know about it, and they're trying to do this, and then their servers go down for 6 hours. And I don't know, I don't have a specific conspiracy theory, but it seemed interesting to me, so that's why we're mentioning it.
So while we're here, I would like to plug the privacy options session was not down yesterday. Decentralized messaging app, end-to-end encrypted with no metadata, no phone numbers required. It's on top of Lokinet, which is like an alternative to Tor. And also there's Panquake, which is a private, decentralized social media platform that is building right now, and they are testing. And we are going to have to pay for it, but we're going to pay for our privacy, right? So
yeah, if it's free, then you are the product. So I'm if it's got if the user experience is good, then I'm down to pay for it for sure. The one other one that I saw, and this actually isn't a social media platform, it's a protocol, but Project Liberty is they're trying to develop a social media protocol that can be applied by like other projects who want to build apps in a way that are private by default, respect users' anonymity, and kind of promote healthy interactions, or like nice interactions in a public space, kind of not allowing it just to be a free for all where anybody can come in and start saying the N word or like attacking people and just being a little just being a troll basically. So yeah, Panquake, Project Liberty, these are check those out. Decentralized alternatives are coming to social media. Whether or not they'll outcompete them and like become the next big thing, I don't think anyone really knows, but God, I hope so.
Yeah, we sure hope so.
Right. For sure. So yeah, I think that's gonna do it for today. Thank you, Chill. And
Monero fam.
we love our Monero people for sure. We will see y'all next time. Thanks for checking us out.